Hello everyone, I'm not going to bother explaining the naked truth because I just did it in my last video. So hi, catch up number whatever it is. Weird Christmas traditions. So yeah, another strange one. I couldn't think of any strange ones that I know of like offhand. The pooping log that Trisha mentioned, definitely one of the weirdest ones I've ever heard of. But there we go. When it comes to my family traditions, I used to always go to my grandma's house for Christmas, and it was, she lived on the coast in this really beautiful old house, which was not well maintained for what it had potential to be, but it was like high ceilinged with like wood burning fires, and you know, very tall, and it was a semi-detached, very tall building with like one or two rooms per floor, we'd always spend there for Christmas, so I'd always share a room which used to be my aunt's bedroom with me and my sister, my twin sister, and my other sister would sleep in what used to be my uncle's room, and my parents would get the four-poster bed, and my grandma was in a different bedroom, and we'd always stay there for Christmas, and we'd do stockings first thing in the morning, where it would actually be just a sock, like an actual like proper walking or like hiking boot sock that had been stuffed with usually a mini can of Coke, a nectarine and a little present, and that was usually from Santa, but I don't know whether or not I ever spoiler alert, whether or not I ever really believed in Santa. I always knew the present was from Miss Carter, who was an old lady in the village, we'd open that first off the bat, and then it was kind of for the rest of the day you would all help out with the cooking as needed, usually Dad taking point on the bird, and all the rest of us kind of just helping out where needed, and then it became a challenge as to whether or not, like, usually one of us would go down early-ish in the morning and divide up the presents. If we were at my grandma's house, it would be a challenge to try and like open the presents as slowly as possible. So you're not allowed to open a present until everyone else is in the room, so everyone can see it and everyone's got a present in front of them, so you all open a present at the same time so no one's left out. It didn't have to be from the same person, it was better to have it slightly jumbled, so I'd open one from my aunt, and my sister would open one for grandma, and my grandma would open one for my sister, and my other sister would open one from mum and dad, and so on and so forth. But we'd all open at the same time, and then it was kind of, the trick was to try and like prolong the present unwrapping as long as possible. My grandma was the master of it. She was a quintessential eccentric, so she'd often like somehow manage to still be opening her Christmas presents next Easter. Like she was like she'd shake it and she'd like flip open the edges and like listen and smell it, and she was talented at making it last as long as possible. But our main thing was to just try and like make big pauses between the present opening to make it as long as possible, so you still had presents to open by like 5-6 in the afternoon, even if you're opening your presents first thing in the morning. Then we'd light the fire, have the food, and the fire in the dining room, my grandma had basically she had no limits in what could go in the fire, so like crackers and wrapping paper and everything would go in this open wood burning fire, so like there would be green fire and blue fire and pink fire and odd smelling smoke, and it must have been awful for all of us, but it was fun at the time. And then if we were at home for Christmas, as I said, usually we'd still do the stocking thing, but at that point we all had separate bedrooms, and we'd leave out the mince pies and the wine for Santa. Usually Mum and Dad would put in a request for what type of mince pies and wine Santa would like, then next morning one of us would go down usually and sort it out, and again we try and keep the process as long as possible, and we'd always go for a walk. When I was probably before about 13, we'd go to church on Christmas Day. When we got to about 13, we started doing midnight mass instead, so we'd go to church the night before, which was really lovely, because it meant that we could lie in on Christmas, which was great. I love lying in on Christmas, because when I was getting into my teenage years, I discovered lie-ins, and they were so much better than getting up and sorting out the presents early. So if we had midnight mass, we had an excuse to lie in the next day, and we also didn't have to go to church on actual Christmas Day, which was lovely. And so nowadays my Christmas tradition is slightly different. So This was usually Christmas in the village. We go to one of the family friends' houses who will host like a drinks and nibbles type party, and I'll hang out with all of my old school friends from primary school and secondary school who I'm still friends with, mostly just at Christmas. There are people that I only see at Christmas time that are like family friends. I'm just like, I didn't know you were still here. How are you married? Do you have babies? Because I'm in that generation now where everyone's getting married and having babies. It's really quite alarming. And we'll meet up there, and then we always go to the pub, the local pub called Crown, which is a very small pub, and usually we pack it out and we play cards, and me and my twin sister and one of our friends have a knickers exchange, as in that's the birthday present, Christmas present we always get for each other, so we wrap it up and we kind of know what it is, but it's always nice to get a pair of pretty pants, and usually some chocolate or something with it. So that will be the one Christmas present we're allowed to open on Christmas Eve. Will usually be that one. We've always had the rule where you can open one present on Christmas Eve, but as adults we always just do that because that way we can go separate ways for our actual Christmas Day, and we can have given each other the presents. So I'm always opening a parcel full of knickers in the pub, and that shouldn't be normal, but it is. That's my tradition. And then depending on how we feel and depending on how drunk we are at that point, it's either off to midnight mass or home. I did a couple of years where I didn't go to midnight mass for ethical reasons. You know, there's a certain point where I love faith in concept, but in belief I feel like a bit of a hypocrite. But there's something I really, really love about the tradition of church. I love the tradition, I love the history, if you look at the positive aspects of faith. And, you know, communal singing, communal well-wishing is always a positive thing. And that's, you know, tradition. There is a lot of problems I have with organised religion, and there's a lot of problems I have with personal faith. But I love the tradition of it. So I stopped going for a couple of years because I felt that it wasn't right for me. And this year I went back and it was lovely. It was just really nice. And to, you know, have that little tradition. And then, yeah, Christmas this year, we helped cook, we opened presents as slowly as possible. And yeah, that's pretty much it, nothing exciting. I don't really have anything special apart from the fact that our stockings were literally stuffed socks. We've never had like one of those ones we hang up on the fire. I did always find it a bit challenging because I used to have a gas fire when I was a kid, but if it wasn't at my grandma's house, we had a gas fire at home, so I was like, how small does Santa have to shrink in order to get down the chimney? This is when I was very young. I did say I don't think I ever believed in Santa, but I remember having that mathematical discussion with myself as, he must shrink down, like he's got to get through like a pipe this small, how does he do that? I mean, the hamster had trouble getting up there, but there we go. I think that's enough rambling. We usually end up watching a movie. We usually end up watching Strictly Come Dancing, which is a BBC dance programme. Nowadays, we usually would watch the Doctor Who Christmas special. That's kind of wavered depending on the years and depending on how interested and invested we are in Doctor Who. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Christmas is Christmas. It's always at home. This is the first Christmas where my one of my sisters has been away. She is currently in Japan, out of the country. So Merry Christmas, Sarah. Merry Christmas. Not that she'll watch this, but there we go. But yeah. So other than that, I think in the next couple of years Christmas traditions are going to change because, as I said, I'm in the generation where everyone's getting married and having babies. So this is probably the last Christmas that my other sister will be able to make it because she's going to start having work obligations that will probably fall on Christmas. My older sister, as I said, she last year she spent Christmas Day with her fiance's family, so she's going to probably be every other Christmas from now on, I suspect. Yeah, so the traditions are changing, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just going to be different, which is part of the reason why I went with a traditional tradition this year, and it was really lovely. Anywho, yeah, I don't have anything strange. I'm trying to think, other than opening pants in the pub, like opening Christmas presents full of knickers in a public forum. That's, I think, probably the closest I have to a strange tradition. Thank you all for watching. Feel free to comment on your odd Christmas traditions, and let me know if you know of any other weird ones or any other weird personal ones that you and your family do. We've never had to do the sing for presents thing. I was talking to a bunch of people and loads of people did that. We've never had to do that. I think if we had to, my dad would have bought his ears out by now because no one in the family is a great singer. Thank you for watching. Feel free to comment. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I'll see you guys all very soon for the next video. Bye 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 bye.